Welcome everybody to the Independent Consulting Topic Chat, the IC Topic Chat. It's November 4th, and we were just talking, it's getting below freezing here in Edwardsville, Illinois. And I went out for a run with my daughter yesterday, and my hands were freezing, like they turned bright red, and it was terrible. Today we're talking about time tracking and reporting, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm going to be completely frank with everybody. This is not what I've been known for and what I've been great at. Once upon a time, I worked for a professional services firm, and we kept our time in 5-minute increments, and it was tedious, and I did it extremely well. And then I went on to become a graduate assistant in my doctoral program, and I did the same thing. And I did this for years and years. And when I started my independent consulting practice, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. So I stopped for about 5 years. But then I found myself back at it recently because I need to do a better job of tracking my company and things like that. So just heads up, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions, and it's because I want to engage you, but it's also because I don't know the answers. And I'm happy being completely honest with you. But this is a presentation that we call a core topic. It is one of the topics that if I was doing a workshop, a 6-hour or a 12-hour workshop, it would be one of the topics that we're talking about. So this is the sort of thing we need to introduce for introductory people who are just starting out their independent consulting programs. But it's, like I said, I wasn't doing a great job of it at first. We're doing a lot of catch up now. Now that I have a firm of 8 people, we are certainly need to know what people are up to, what they're how they've been working. They want to know if they have PTO time and things like that. So that's why I'm talking about it today. And I have a little bit of experience, but I would love to hear people pipe in and talk about it. So let's just talk about tracking time. So why do you track time? I want to see some things in the chat. Feel free to pop in. Why should you track time? I'd love to see what you say. So you can bill by the hour, says Julie. Jen says, oh, it moved away from me. Monica says, I get an idea of the time it takes for different components of the evaluation. Ultimately, time is money, right? And that we need to understand, oh, for the bureaucrats, says JP. Yeah, I guess some bureaucrats probably do care. Paisley is worried about us switching our projects. She means switching projects, so you know when to switch to different projects. Frankly, a lot of us build out our budgets around how much time we'll spend on things. We have an hourly rate. And so at some point we say, well, we're going to spend 15 hours on this activity. Did we in fact spend 15 hours on this activity or not? And so we need to think about doing some different tracking of time. Different things that I'm going to talk about today is how you think about it, particularly with a staff, because we have time off. How many hours did you spend on projects? How many hours did you spend on work, regardless of whether you're on projects or not? And how much time do you have for time off? And so how do we track that? Scoping for new work. And I'm going to give you an example of that in a little bit. But I'm sure there's a lot of different ideas, but I think when you're scoping for new work, you have a better understanding for how much time you spent on projects in the past. And so that should be an indicator of how much time you may spend on those projects, like new or different similar projects in the future. So here's the why bother question, because time is our currency. Now, there are a lot of different time tracking tools. It doesn't have to be any more difficult than working in Excel. And for me, that's all I used for probably 8 years of my life, was just an Excel spreadsheet. I have it somewhere. I'd like to go find that someday. I had it pretty sophisticated. I think a lot of us have learned how to use Excel. QuickBooks. Let me know, does anybody use QuickBooks for their time tracking? I think we continue to be tempted to do that, but I feel like QuickBooks is just its own animal, and it makes me anxious to get involved with QuickBooks in its own, because it starts to get into billing, and if you make a mistake in QuickBooks, I'm afraid I have to pay an accountant. But if anybody's used QuickBooks, I'd love to hear from you. Here's a lot of other time tracking tools, most of which I don't know anything about. I can tell you I know a lot about Toggl Track. It used to be just known as Toggl, but then they decided to get involved with a lot of other things. So now it's known as Toggl Track. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So this is what Toggl looks like. In fact, I'm going to pull my screen over and we're going to look at a live version of my Toggl. And can you confirm you can see my Toggl Track that my screen is up?
Yeah, it's small, but yeah.
Okay, this is what you're supposed to be looking at. Okay, there you go.
Your schedule looks as gnarly as mine.
This is not a schedule. This is actually what I'm doing. You can see I'm in the middle of an IC topic chat right now. I've already put myself down for an hour of time, and I worked on you can see that yesterday I worked on writing a grant evaluation section for the entire afternoon. It just never, it was like birthing a baby. It just didn't want to come out. It took all day until 4 o'clock. I worked on, look, this is the stuff I'm embarrassed to show you. I woke up in the middle of the night and I worked on that presentation I just gave to you. I worked on that from 2:15 to 3:15 a.m. yesterday morning, which is probably, again, I'm sharing too much information. I was up this morning working on the IC topic chat this morning, a couple times there. I have not set this up. IC topic chats as a project, though I probably ought to. I'm afraid to look at how many hours I spend on this because I have too much fun and I'm going to do it anyway. So, but it's just set up as AEA professional development. This is just the way I track my time. It costs, when you have 5 or fewer employees, it's free, which is kind of a great little opportunity for people. When you grow, they find a way to charge you, and the first month free. So we have, I think, 6 of our 8 employees, 2 of them are grad assistants. 6 of our 8 employees are on Toggl, and they charge you $9 a month, and they charge you all up front. And just randomly, totally randomly, they charged me for the entire year today. So it cost me 9 times 6 times 12, which I think is either 540 or 640 bucks. We just got charged that today. But this is what it looks like. This is 99% of what I see and do. I go in here and try and keep up. I think Brittany's here today. Brittany is our office manager, and she keeps track of our Toggl, our time, and she sends out a reminder to people who get behind. So she's oftentimes reminding me on Mondays that I need to be doing what I've told everybody else they need to do. Everybody's usually pretty good at it, but it is the thing that if you get behind on it, you can find yourself going, having to spend time. Like I will actually spend time doing Toggl. I think I have a project classification for doing Toggl, which the staff fought me on, and I'm like, well, if I spent as much time doing Toggl, I should know what I'm doing. Brittany's awesome, says Kristen. Thanks, Kristen. You can go back and you can see how you spent different weeks. I was in New Jersey for Monday the 18th. You see that? So this is what it looks like. Brittany's pretty popular today. You see why I hired her, right? Anyhow, so this is what it looks like. What's fun about Toggl is you can get into reports. So this is my slide, but I'll show you in Toggl what it looks like. It looks like this. I go into these reports over here, and you can see how all of our staff have how many hours they've worked during the year now. Amanda worked with us from February through July, and Amber came in and started working with us in August. So they don't have all those hours. Evan's relatively new. There's me. I've worked 1,975 hours, so I'm close to that 2,000 hour mark. This is what our staff looks like. And then we end up, nope, went too far. That's the staff. So let me show you some different reports that we output this stuff. Now, which one am I looking at? You can run a report, and I'm going to do it wrong, so I'm not going to completely do this right now. But you can run a report, and then you end up with a big old ugly file that looks something like this, and we call this our data dump, you can see I've taken out people's names so you don't see anything specific to them, but this is the client that they worked on. This is going all the way back to January 1st, 2021. So most of us were on holiday for January 1st. What project they were on. You can actually put in tasks. We haven't done a lot with our tasks, but you can see, in fact, there's nothing in tasks. You can see that, but you can do tasks if you want to get to a third level of specificity. I usually put in a description of what I was doing. So you can see I was working on IC topic chats on January 3rd, right there. In fact, I think I was writing up some little newsletters or something that day. So that's the kind of things that we do. Now, I take this data dump, and this is what's great for our staff, and which could be good if you have employees. I will run these reports. It's just a bunch of Excel things. So I see how many hours I'd expect for myself for a week, 40 hours a week. How many actual hours I work. So frequently I work more than 40. Kind of embarrassing to I'm showing you everything here. Whether it was a holiday, whether I had PTO, and then you can see I have a PTO bank. This is something that Brittany and I calculated together. So in summary, you can see a little summary for Matt Feldman here. We've got some PTO hours that I've got. Again, PTO stands for paid time off, and we use PTO in place of vacation and sick time. You combine it all together, you call it PTO, and you can use it however you want. If you need to be sick, you need to be sick. If you need time off, you need to be, that's what it's there for. This all wraps up into an individual report that we send out on a regular basis. And you can see for the week of last week, we always go a week back because we're in the middle of this week. I started on January 1st of this year. I have worked, I have 132 PTO hours. You'd expect that I would have worked 1,728 hours. I've in fact worked more than that. So I'm over by a lot. And I could hypothetically take 8.5 weeks off for the rest of the year. And nobody will let me do that. But that's just to show you what I've been able to do with the hours that we output from Toggl. Now, this is good for us internally for our staff, but it's really important for something else. This is another example of what you may see we would do. So just last week, Tom, some of you guys know Tom, who works with me, came to me and says, how much am I supposed to charge for this? Is the actual name of the project. But that STEMbox program is called something else. And I said, I don't know. We charged them $800 last year. It doesn't take a lot of time. And then I said, wait a second, how much time did you spend on it? So we actually did a report. We pulled it. So this is what it looked like. This is the actual report. You can't see the project name. And it doesn't take a lot of time. You can see he spent all of 15 hours over the year on this. And I spent 45 minutes. So altogether it was 15 hours and 45 minutes on the project for the year. So it's pretty simple, but it is just a lot of maintaining and connection and stuff. And he did a bit of work in February, March, and a bit more here in August, September. So we look at that 1545, I round up to 16. So I did 16 times our billing rate, which is $125 an hour, and it's 2,000. I said, well, you should charge him $2,000. And that's how he wrote up this proposal to that client. And again, a very small project, but I was going to charge him $800 because that's what we charged him last year based upon like no data and no thought whatsoever. And so we put a little bit of time into thinking through the time tracking software. And I guess it either saved me or netted me an additional $1,200, which is really what you should be doing and why the time tracking is there. And so that's kind of an example of how you can use the system. Brittany, hey Matt, how much PTO time do I have? So I just showed you how I did that is to check the report. And so this is what it looks like. And I just showed you that a second ago. I'm not following the order of my presentation, but this is just an example of how you can use it. And I think you can do this with pretty much any time tracking software. It's all a pretty simple idea. And this is why I want to ask some questions and have people chat about this. But the basic idea is you're tracking your time by project, right? And then you're reporting it out to yourself in however way you want to. I don't use a lot of the canned reports from Toggl. It's nice to see, but at the end of the day, I want to output it because, well, I have control issues and I want to create my own reports. And Brittany's very patient to deal with that. And I appreciate her for that. So I guess my next steps internally for my business and thoughts that other people can do, we're actually in the process of doing this, is pulling our revenue by project, by quarter. We're calculating our time by person, by project, by quarter, and we're comparing those against each other to see what our average, actually the amount that we not the billing rate, but the actual rate we received by project, by quarter, by person, to understand that. So that's helping us determine our profitability. If we're supposed to be charging our clients at $125 an hour, is that what we're in fact getting? And also, it's another way to think about how just different ways of thinking about your business. And so some of those things we're in the process of talking about, and I will be presenting on in December. So my question for you all is, what system do you use? How does it affect your business? Are you using it for planning and billing and PTO and scoping and all the other things? What would you do different than what I presented today? And what key performance indicators does this affect? And of course, most importantly, what did I forget? So I'm gonna stop the set. I'm gonna stop recording now so we can start chatting. But I'd love for you guys to chime in.